Welcome to Wrestling with Adversity platform, a podcast dedicated to storytellers, overcomers, conquerors, and champions. Not all of our guests will be champions, but they have wrestled with something in life and they've won. Our next guest up, super proud to know this guy, former Perry Meridian State champion, wrestled with each other a lot growing up. Currently, he's accepted his first head role, correct?
Yes,
First
sir.
head role job at Greenfield Central here in Indiana. No furthermore, welcome Riley McClurg.
Thanks, B. Right. Appreciate it. Really looking forward to getting on here and chatting it up with you, man.
All love, man. I've been doing the club coaching for about 6 or 7 years, and through this time, I've seen a lot of guys I wrestled with in high school that have really grown in the high school coaching roles as far as assistants and getting their own programs. But I do want to just tip my hat off to you and just say all the work that I see you did with Warren, the last generation, and the guys like Kressel and Kyrell and even some of the other guys like Albury, like I've seen the growth and I definitely value your coaching style. And I think that it was definitely time for you to have your own head position. And I'm excited to see you actually get that shot.
Man, means a lot. I never forget when I started this journey, man. This is my 10th year of coaching in high school. Started, as soon as my collegiate career ended. And, when I started 10 years ago, I swore I'd never be a head coach, right? I liked being behind the scenes. I liked running the practices. I liked building those relationships with the kids, but, not that I didn't think I couldn't do it. I just didn't know if, I don't know, I think it really honestly was a part of I didn't think I could do it, right? I think I was a really good personal coach. I didn't know if I could lead a team, right? And then, and in the past 4 years at Warren, like, like you said, really transformed me into what I'm proud to call myself. I think a great leader, um, and those kids, like you named a handful of them, right? Kyrell, Waylon, Christian, Donald Bowie.
Bowie.
You go, I mean, I could go on the Durham brothers, AJ Cashman, Paris Green. Just go down. Those guys transformed me as a coach. Made me mature. Made me become, get out of my comfort zone, right? Figure out different ways to coach, and the shoe doesn't fit the kid every same way, right? And I think that out of those like 10 kids I just named, each one of those kids wrestled different.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a one size fits all, and and this opportunity wasn't planned to come over here at Greenfield Central. It just I do believe, I've got strong faith. And I just do believe this was, kind of the big man's way of, opening a door for me at the right time where I was at a crossroads in my life where I, was ready to be a head coach and ready to take that next step. And, just as well as I do, is head coaching opportunities in Indiana, don't come open, they're not people, it's not very transient, right? Maybe football or basketball positions may be. There's a lot of high school coaches that once they get in a seat, they don't leave. And perfect example, Coach Holden was at Greenfield Central for 20 years, man, and built something here that was pretty special. And so when this job came open, I had a talk with my wife. We're about to expect she'll be 36 weeks tomorrow. So we're going to have our first, thank you, have our first baby boy. And, I needed her support more than anything. And, I'm not going to get choked up on here, but, she's my best friend, dude. So her giving me the blessing and, telling me to go ahead and go chase it, man. And so it's been since about the second week in April, man. I've been neck deep, and man, it's fun, right? It's not as scary as it looked like from the outside. I mean, once again, I haven't gone through a full season, right? It's just I've only been here for 4 months, but it's just, man, it's fun. It's a lot of work, man. It's not, it's everything every coach told me it is, right?
Yeah.
It's not easy being good or being great. And, um, but I can't, just a great situation. And, just really blessed, I can't thank enough, for, like I said, the past 9 years being, coaching the first 5 years under my brother and then coaching the past, 4 years at Warren Central. I think it's prepared me, right? And
Mm.
I'm glad I didn't get eager and try to take a jump really quick. And I'm glad that I sat back and watched who I think, just worked with two really great coaching staffs for 9 years that we saw wrestling through the same lens. Um, and it makes it easier to be yourself, right? And
Yes, sir.
it makes it easier to coach, right? When you're surrounded by like-minded individuals. And so, that's not going to change, right? Greenfield Central. So I'm just really looking forward to the future.
Yes, sir. Now the platform is called Wrestling with Adversity, and every great wrestler and coaches they face some type of adversity. Can you share a moment with our audience on a struggle or a setback throughout your wrestling journey or your coaching journey?
Man, I've got a lot, right? I'll share just like a few from a lot of people don't know this, right? I wrestled, Division One for about 3 years, and then transferred home when Marion started their program and started wrestling there, and really fell back in love. Back when you and I were training, right? You were still training for the U.S. Open. I just moved back home. We were scrapping at IDG, 4 or 5 times a week,
Yeah.
and I found the love for the sport again. I was enjoying it. And I was, which any kid, any parent who are listening, um, there's great wrestling in every division, and I battle that every day. But NAI was a great division. I think that's the second toughest division behind D1. It's just my personal opinion. But besides that, I was having fun again, back in love with the sport, and ended my had a neck surgery. I ruptured a disc.
Mm.
And since then, man, as a coach, I've actually had two further neck surgeries. So I've had three total neck surgeries in about 7 years. Um, that's one, right? I
Wow.
think one that will, um, rehabbing from those and getting back and still wanting to get back in the saddle, whether it was wrestling or coaching. Um, that's one setback. But I think one that will probably resonate a lot with kids is um, I wasn't the man in high school, right? Um, I think I was always competitive and I was above average. Um, Fallen short 3 years in a row, never made it to the state tournament. I think a lot of people, not really transparent about it, right? Being 31. Not super prideful, right? But it's you know,
Wait, so we never made the state tournament before we won it?
no, no, never made the state tournament before in my
What?
life. Yeah. So,
From not
uh,
qualifying to win the whole thing.
yep. And,
I didn't know that, right? I didn't know
yeah,
that.
yeah, man.
Wow.
Semi-state had my number for a
Yeah.
while.
Yeah.
Um, Man, but I will say one thing, man. I've wrestled since I was 3, 4 years old. I'm the youngest of two boys. Both wrestled in college. All of us did, and so it was kind of something I was born into, and didn't really think, fall in love and want to be great at the sport until I was probably in like seventh or eighth grade. And my middle brother Wade, who's my best friend, um, really kind of pulled me aside one day and was like, "Hey, man, um, I don't mean to rub you the wrong way or say the wrong things, but you know, I'd kill to have your talent and your abilities." He said, but, pretty much just told me you don't work hard, right? You don't work hard enough. And that changed, that clicked, right? I think I'm starting to mature. I didn't fight him or try to talk back. I think it just made me reflect. And so I started really working hard there, bought in, man, from being at Perry and training at CIA and everywhere I could go. And then it was really defeating, I guess, those first 3 years because I thought I was really working hard and doing the right things. And, and people ask me a lot that do know me, like, what did you do differently, right? Between your junior and senior year. Um, and it's truly, man, the power of self-belief. I had a, I had a coach, um, that was recruiting me. That was a childhood hero of mine, Alex Dolly. And I actually got the chance to wrestle for Alex at Old Dominion. And he was big about self belief. and he shared a poem with me. It's called "The Man in the Glass." Right? Like at the end of the day, if you've cheated yourself or if you've done the right things, you still got to face the man in the glass. Um, and then there was another thing that his idea was like, man, get up every morning with an expo marker and write on your bathroom mirror 160 pound, 2013 160 pound state champion. And then when you come home from practice and you're going to bed, erase it, wake up the next morning and write it again. Like I said, I was freaking probably ranked. I think I was ranked ninth in the state too, like heading into sectionals my senior year. Um, just was really just and it was deserved, man, because the past 3 years I had been ranked pretty high and I always just kind of laid an egg or whatever you want to call it. Didn't get the job done, and then um, but it was the first time in my life I was comfortable with it, right? Because I had so much self belief. I knew I was doing the right things, and I wasn't, just really kind of blocked everything out. And um, man, it's I think a lot of kids get in an issue of I'm not supposed to be that guy. I'm not supposed to beat that guy. I shouldn't be in this position. I'm the underdog, right? I wasn't supposed to win that match. One thing that me and my brother, and I still say it to my kids, but Wade always said it to me, like, go beat somebody you're not supposed to beat, right?
Yes.
Go beat somebody you're not supposed to beat. And that was my mentality every dual meet, every weekend. And, still like that senior year of high school, I had a rough patch. The only 3 matches I lost were in back-to-back week period, right? Northmont duels and Belmont duels, like
Tough ones.
back-to-back weekends, right? I dropped a match. And real down on myself again, right? But it's I think there's just I guess where I'm at is just the power of self belief's huge, man. I think that a lot of these kids, and it's something I'm trying to preach to our kids today. Of the mind's the strongest thing, and the strongest thing you can have. And obviously, right, you got to be well sharpened on the mat and be able to wrestle. But what separates the I don't know. What separates, I think, like a Jesse Mendez from, a Riley McClurg was like Jesse had that mentality at 14, right? Yeah, I could go down the list. Jason Surface, right? You and Jason wrestled so much, right? And you knew he had that mentality in 8th grade, right? Like there was just, that's something, right? I think that's what makes these guys at the highest level on the world team, guys that are winning at the highest level in college. Um, Dude, they're ironclad minds, right? They're they don't self destruct and they don't let anything in that they don't want to be that they don't want to let in. And um and I just think the one thing just that I really would say is that you're only as good as you think you are, right? And I think kids tend to figure, they forget about it, right? And there's so much that goes with positive self-talk, but there also goes with so much of holding yourself accountable. You've got to
Yes.
be able to call yourself out and say, did you cheat that rep? Or did you cheat that go? You know what I mean? Did you go get the major with 15 seconds left, or did you coast? I mean, there's things of that where you've got to go back and be critical of yourself, but you got to be willing to fix the things, right? Um, I think that's just one thing that, I guess, just real adversity thing is, man, just, yeah, man, imagine watching the state finals from the stands as a freshman, sophomore and junior. And then, um, you know, with, just surrounded by a great coaching staff and a great family and just a great support system my senior year. It's, the power of, it's not, I didn't learn any secret move. I didn't go train in Dagestan for 2 to 3 weeks. I didn't do anything crazy like that.
Yeah.
It was a summer of still putting the work in, but it was a lot of summer of just sharpening my mind, right? And believing in myself and telling myself every morning and getting up. And that it was so cool to wake up the day after the state tournament, my senior year and erase that for the last time when I'm brushing my teeth, right?
Yes.
Because it's actually, I'm sure there was other goals I've had growing up that I probably reached, but that was the one goal. Still 31 years old, right? I look back to, and I'm I don't brag about it, right? But it's a thing that's where you wrote something down and you went and got it, right? and whether you wrote it down in your mind or in your iPhone notes, or if you really physically wrote it down, um, it's there's a lot that can be said. Man, you can right a lot of wrongs, and
Oh,
and it doesn't. There's you know it too. You see a lot of kids that, and you and I both see kids and coach kids that put in all the work in the world. Man, they'll work out 5-6 times a week, and come big matches just can't get over the hump, right?
yeah,
And
yeah,
it starts in between the ears.
yeah,
And
yeah,
you can put in all the work in the world, man, but if you don't believe that you're inching yourself towards the goal that you have, right? Um, you're failing yourself, right? That's one thing I try to relay to the kids. You have kids in your room, right, that are beginners, and you got kids that are going to be competing for a state title next year. It doesn't matter if you don't have that beginner doesn't have a goal, right? He's going to come to practice aimlessly, and he's never going to truly get better. He may know the sport better. He'll never truly get better. And that dude that's at the state championship level, if he's not actively inching towards that goal, then he'll be top 5 or he'll be a state qualifier. He'll still be
yeah.
good, right? But
Mhm.
there's a power, and when I say it comes from the mind, there's just a lot of power of setting goals, right? And with every goal, I think there should be sub goals to it, right? I mean, if your
Yes.
goal this year as a high school wrestler is a state champion, well, under that sub goal, right? There's 3 little sub goals, in my opinion. You got to go win a sectional, you got to go win a regional, and you got to go win a semi-state before you can even think about winning a state title,
Yep.
right? So it's like you're writing a resume or something, state champions in bold, but underneath it there's 3 or 4 bullet points of what I have to
I would
accomplish in order
always,
to get to that goal.
I would always tell my guys, especially the ones that everyone, like I said, everyone's not going to go in the championships, but there's some that have spent enough time with training with us or training with myself, and I tell them, hey, the last 16 matches is the only thing that matters the season. We're trying to go 4-0 at sectionals, 4-0 at regionals, 4-0 at semi-state, and then 4-0 at that state tournament, so you can accomplish the ultimate goal of becoming a state champion.
That's
But moving forward a little bit, um, I almost forgot all the success you and your brother had at Roncalli before you even took on the Warren job after Roncalli. Am I correct?
correct. Yes, sir.
So, how many state champs do you guys have over there at Roncalli?
Man, we put 5 in the finals and 3 state champs in 5 years. We
Just
had 17 state placers and 19 state qualifiers, I think, in 5 years. Um,
how do
yeah,
how do you plan on building a winning culture now at Greenfield Central? Because it's not a question if Riley McClurg can win as a wrestler or win as a coach. Now it's a question: can he transition this to a new program with the energy? You've always been an energetic guy when you're coaching. You're loud. You got a good chemistry with your guys, a good connection. How do you plan to, I want to say, transition that to Greenfield Central and create a winning culture there?
yeah. That's so. That's what I've. So a lot of people, and I'm not, I've told this to everybody, so it's not like a secret. But it's like these first 4 months have been culture building, right? It's not like come in rah rah rah. We're gonna learn how to hand fight how Riley wants to hand fight. We're gonna learn how to no, right? That's not how this works, right? I
Yeah.
got to get them to believe in me, right?
Hmm.
I can't get you to believe in yourself if you don't believe in me,
Very
because then
true.
I'm just talking through one ear and it's going out the other,
Hmm.
right? So, dude, this 4 months, and I'm honest, I've been trying. I want to earn the kids' trust, right? And
Uh,
and that's where it comes from. I can't start a culture. I can't. You can't. You can't start a can't just start a fire, right? With just a match, I mean, you've got to spark that, right, with the kids to know that you truly care about them, and it's not a facade, it's not fake, right? I don't care. At the end of the day, I want them to be good humans, right? And that's the
yes.
one thing I've told people and you can ask every kid I've coached at Warren the past 4 years. Whenever I'd end a workout, I'd say, in order for you to be a good human, or in order for you to be a good wrestler, the kids would finish it. They'd say, I have to be a good human,
Have to be.
right? Because you can be a good wrestler, but if you're a crappy human, man, people are going to remember you for being a crappy human. You can be a terrible wrestler, but be an awesome person, and people are always going to remember you for how good you were to them and the ways that you affected them in a positive manner. And so you're right. Like I said, I mean, and I don't think we're there yet, but man, we started the first probably week with maybe 10 kids coming in, right? And then these
Mhm.
past 4 weeks of workouts, we're up to about average about 20, 25 kids a workout, right? It's starting to grow. And I mean, that's one thing I catch myself. I had, Braden Lowry, who I coached at Roncalli, and he won a state title for us. He
Yeah,
was in the room last night and he ran a workout for us. And he asked it's funny because he asked very similar questions like this. And I said, man, you get excited and you want to fast forward to year 4 at Roncalli, right? But then you can't forget the first 3 years that it took
yep,
for us to get there, right? And it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows. Um, it was a lot of hard work and it was failure, right? It was failure. I look back at those 5 years. In 5 years, we wrestled Cathedral 5 years in a row and never beat them, right? Like we had a lot of success as a team and we had a lot of individual successes, but like, you look back at what got us to that point and it wasn't easy. It was that first year at Roncalli was a culture change, right? You're taking over for a legend, Lance Ellis,
yeah,
and you've got to what? Like that's hard,
yeah,
right? And it's the same thing I'm doing now. I'm taking over for a legend in his own right. He's been here for 20 years. He's won over 300 dual meets. Josh Holden was good at what he does, and so it's not going to be. I'm not going to sit here and be like Kirk Signetti and Google me, right? Like I'm not calling any shots, right? I'm not saying we're going to go out and win a sectional. We're not going to do this, but I mean, my goal as a coach is every time we step on the mat, like I said, it's not going to be a style. Every kid wrestles different, and it's not the same for every kid. But if you when you wrestle Greenfield, it's just going to be hard, right? That's just one thing. It's just going to be difficult. Whether you win or you lose, I want our kids to wrestle with the pace and really a self belief in themselves. And I'm a foot on the gas guy. I like to score a lot of points. I don't
yeah,
like boring wrestling, and
yep,
so just instilling that in kids. And we've got a bunch of kids, man, that are tough and they'd love to go forward and they know how to wrestle. It's just a lot of, like I said, it's a lot of it's self belief. I think I've got 30, 40 kids on this team that don't know how good they truly are. Um,
mm,
and I think that once I get them to believe in me and trust in me, and like I said, I think we're going down the right path. We've got 14 kids wrestling at the IHPO Open, right? So,
really great.
we're, I think the buy-in is there, right? And so it's my job to be, a good steward and take this in the right direction, right? And make sure that we're steering the ship in the right path. Like I said, there's going to be bumps, man. That's, like I said, you know, but it's the goal is to train, just to do what we've done the past, what the coaching staffs that I've gotten to be a part of have done the past 9 years. And like I said, I'm grateful that I didn't hop out and hop right into a head coaching job or try to do that because I wouldn't be as apt to this, right? I wouldn't be prepared for the bumps that are coming, and so just really looking forward to it, man. I truly do believe that the community's awesome, right? It's a smaller community, about 14 to 1,500 kids, but there's a community presence where they care about Cougar sports a lot, right? I've had people reach out to me on Facebook and stuff like, "You've got big shoes to fill. We're looking forward to it," right? And yeah, and so it's to me, I don't look at it as no, it's exciting, it's encouraging. That means that there's expectations for me, and I would rather there be expectations um, than there to be none, right? So, we've got our work cut out, but like I said, I think we're well prepared.
Man, I could talk to you wrestling all day, that for sure, Riley. But I wanted to wrap up this interview with one last question. What legacy do you hope to leave behind, not just in wins, but in lives of the young men and women that you've coached?
Oh, dude.
Uh, I mean, from the state champions. I mean, it's kind of cool to see just the list, just personally that you stacked up from different schools, and obviously having your own role now. What legacy do you? Because you've always been high energy, very electric. What can you leave this next generation with?
Oh, dude, I don't know. I get so me, I'm a pretty emotional guy, like you say. I get teary eyed just thinking about this. I'm trying not to be soft on you here, but
Nah, man, this is a platform for all
but the I've had so many people like you, and um, told somebody this the other day. If I were to sit down, I'd probably write a list of people that positively impacted me just throughout the sport of wrestling. Um, would be like 1,000 pages. Like there are people out there that have said things to me, man, that they don't realize that I still remember from when I was 13 years old. Like tell them whether it was just, hey, buddy, keep your head up. You're going to be good someday. Or, I mean, just little things like that, man. Um, that do that, like, it means so much to me. Like at 31 and being married and still having so many of these people, in your corner. The coolest thing for me, man, is like, I hope these kids, you know, whether it's parents or kids that, I want them to look back and come back in 8 years or 6 years and it's bigger than wrestling, right? Like I said earlier, I want them to be good people. I want them to be successful in society, right?
that.
And
Yes,
I think
sir.
wrestling's the best vehicle. Wrestling's the best vehicle, right? Wrestling, in my opinion, wrestling's the best vehicle for self improvement. And so, teaching these kids to go through trials and tribulations through the sport, because there's no other sport where it's one versus one. You can't
Yes.
put it's on you, right? That's life. You know it, man. Um, and and so I hope these kids they look back and that I've taught them to be positive contributors to society. But I want them to know that the love goes beyond wrestling, man, because the bonds, I think that's what makes, to your point, like how I have had great relationships with kids, and because I think they truly know that I love them beyond wrestling, right?
Hmm.
Um, love them beyond the sport and I care about them beyond the sport, right? Watching Alec Maduya graduate from the Air Force Academy this year was one of the coolest things in the world, right?
Another, another one.
Yeah, but having Brenton Russell at the at the West Point wrestling for Army, right?
Huh?
At the Citadel. I
Uh,
mean, those are cool things, man. Just to look back and watching these kids, right? We've had guys heavyweights that have played football, D1, Purdue, and Ball State. They're starting families now, right? And the cool thing is, I think I've done the right things as a coach is because they're still in touch, right? I hope that my kids in this new journey continue to stay in touch, right? And continue to know that our relationship's always going to be deeper than this sport.
yes. Yes. Man, Riley, like I said, I could talk to you all day, man. I really appreciate your time. You were my first Indiana high school head coach interview. I have a couple of more that I plan to get with. But I wanted to get with you because I really have a good feeling the culture you're going to be able to create over there. And I know Holden really well. And he's a former LC guy. Shouts out to Coach retiring. Handing the job down to somebody that I feel is very qualified, that I'm liking to see kids of our generation, our 30-year-olds, our late 20-year-olds, getting a chance to run their own program because you have wrestle at a high level, not only in high school, but in college. So you have all the attributes needed on top of the experience of coaching. I wish you nothing but the most utmost respect. A couple of families asked about, you know, traveling and transferring into Greenfield Central, and I told them, it would be a great idea. This guy loves wrestling. He breathes wrestling. He cares. He that. And, we from Wrestling with Diversity. We just want to congratulate you and wish you all the luck forward.
Hey, man, it means the world. I know I'm running out of time for you, but I do want everybody to know, you're one of those people, man, that you've made a significant impact on my life. And just all the things, from growing up to watching you and Camden wrestle as a little kid in the stands, and then, being able to compete against you, and then, being able to train with you. You've never said no, right, to me. And man, I really do appreciate you um, and all you've done, man, and helping grow the sport in Indiana. So hats off to you, B.
All love, Riley McClurg, man. Signing off.
Appreciate you, boss.
One love, brother.